Hello again, and welcome back to another FMOD and Unity tutorial, where today we're going to be taking some assets from the 2D game kit which you can find on Unity's asset store, and we're going to be adding sounds to them, and hopefully through a series of videos we'll slowly build up a big soundscape basically. I'm going to be taking all the assets that come with the 2D game kit, I'm going to be putting them into FMOD and integrating them in my own way and showing you guys how we can go about doing that for a larger project. Which hopefully means we can go on to do some more in detailed stuff, like some more stuff with buses, maybe use the profiler, which I know a lot of you guys want me to kind of show you how to use. So yeah, this is thanks to everyone who's been filling out the survey, which I mentioned on the last video, so thank you so much if you've done that. The survey, for anyone who doesn't know, is just a way of you letting me know what you want to see from this channel, essentially. So I'll link that in the description of this video as well. Also, I'm hoping to kind of start on a bigger project soon. One where we can kind of go over every single detail of integrating sounds through FMOD into Unity, and hopefully also look into C# a little bit more, and hopefully to give you guys like a strong confidence when using this sort of stuff. So yeah, let's crack on with this one, shall we? So, like I said, I've got the 2D game kit, which I downloaded off the asset store. I'll quickly show you how to do that in case you don't know. So when you open up Unity, you should have the asset store tab. And you basically can search for whatever you want, really. If you just type in 2D game kit, it should be the first one that appears under Unity Technologies. And I've just downloaded and imported that. And what I've also done, as you can see from this little drop-down menu here, is I've also integrated FMOD. And I have got a project set up. At the moment, there's not much going on in the project. All I've essentially done is taken the audio files that came with this game, and I imported it into an empty project in FMOD. So I'll show you that in a little bit. But before all that, I figured the best way to start would be to jump in and play the game. And that way I can kind of show you what sounds we're going to be adding, what we're going to do to change them and make them more dynamic and interesting. And maybe along the lines, we'll add our own sounds. We'll have to see how it goes. So let's crack on with it. Let's click start. Let's jump into it. Actually, the first thing I might do, because I think it's a little bit too loud, I might quickly jump into the options menu and turn the music down. If I could escape options, turn the music down a little bit about there. There we go, cool. So this is one thing to note. Obviously, we'll have to, if we do get to this, the audio menu, we'll obviously be messing around with this at some point. We'll have to set up some buses that will link to the sound effects and the music and the master volume as well, because we're going to want the player to be able to change them. So again, we're just going to go through this game and kind of note what sounds are in it and how we can go about implementing them ourselves. So we've got some footsteps, obviously. I can move the character left and right with A and D on the keyboard. I can jump, which makes a jump sound and a landing sound. I'll go to this. So that's just a little tutorial, but obviously we get some speech from, let's move the mouse. We get some speech from the character, some gibberish, kind of like you'd hear in The Sims, but again, that's something we're gonna have to figure out how we implement it. Do we want to attach it to the tutorial, or do we want to attach it to this game object here? We'll have to figure it out. Cool, so let's carry on. I think there's another tutorial here. Yeah, so that's just telling us we can go down here by hitting space and down when we crouch. So yeah, I figured with this series we'll start with the player sounds. As we go through the game, we should hear some more sounds that the player makes. But I'm actually I need to shut up really, because you guys are supposed to be listening to this, so I'll try and be a bit quieter. Cool, so we got some collectibles with a little cutscene-esque kind of thing there. Also, listen to the ambience we've got in the background. We've got some birds chirping. We've obviously got the music. In fact, let's quickly do that now. Let's turn down the music. Let's just have a listen to the ambience. So hopefully that isn't just one loop. Hopefully that's multiple sounds that are being triggered in different ways. I'll move the mouse out of the way again. Because there's definitely ways we can do that in FMOD. We can have scatter instruments, for example, that allow us to play, say, birds chirping randomly and kind of put them in different positions. So let's quickly turn the music back up so we can listen to that. Oh, whoops, so we can listen to that as well. There we go. Let's carry on. It might be a good idea also, we could maybe look at doing some interactive music, maybe in the future, because that's something we haven't done on this channel yet, which would be really fun to do. Alright, so let's see what happens if I jump in an asset pit. I die, obviously, but I just thought I'd show you what that sounds like, because obviously I'm going to be trying to avoid that as we go through. So let's carry on. By the way, if you've played this game before or you just want to see me start implementing some sounds, feel free to skip all this part. Sugar, I missed my lift. This is just me showing off what the game sounds like as you download it. Right, there we go. So here we can collect some weapons. Nice one. And we can attack with K. So we've got some rubble breaking down as well and some nice swinging sounds. And we can shoot with 0. We have to add some gunshots. Got health there, and I think there's some enemies coming up now. Yes, there is. Nearly got caught there. So if we get them to walk it again. Cool. So you should, if you're wearing earphones or you've got speakers, you should hear them in the left channel. So we're obviously going to have to add some 3D sounds into this, even though it's a 2D game. Obviously going to need some panning. Oh, it's lagging a bit. We're going to have to see if we can fix the performance. There we go. We're good to go. That's the next bit. I think I'm going to turn the music a little bit higher. Just so we can hear it quite clearly now. Because we've heard the sound effects and the ambience. Let's listen to the music for a bit. Cool, good stuff. Move the mouse out of the way again. So we got things like pressure plates, which should be nice and easy to do. We can just say, you know, when that's triggered, we want to play a sound. Got different enemies now, which I'm struggling to kill. Can I jump? Oh, I can. Oh, I took some damage. So these enemies... Oh, whoops. Oh, no. I'm really struggling now. So those enemies will obviously have to stick a sound onto their animation. So when they spit that goop, they play a sound. There we go. Let's try and see if I can attack these guys with the melee attack. There we go. Doing alright so far. There we go. So obviously there we had the camera move position. We're going to have to think about where we want to stick our FMOD Studio Listener on, whether we put it on the character or the camera. Obviously the Studio Listener is kind of our ears of the game, where we're going to hear sounds from, or the perspective we're going to hear it from. So that'll be something we'll have to consider. There we go. Whoa, that made me jump. Alright. There we go. Nice and manageable so far. There we go. Oh, nearly there. Keep walking off it. Right. Hopefully we should be done with this zone soon, or this level. That's where we want to go. We want to go down there. Okay. Oh. Jumped straight into the acid. Forgot it was down there. Okay. There's a reason why I'm not playing games on YouTube and just adding sound to them instead. There we go. So we've got a lot to consider as well. We've got obviously footsteps that are going to change materials. I think there's 2 different materials that the player can walk on in this game. We've got different kind of areas, which might be good to add some reverb zones too. Oh.
Hello. Hello, Pachucha.
Right, let's see if I can kill this boss first time. Side note, I've tried this quite a few times and I usually die on my first attempt, so we'll see how this goes. Ooh. Doing alright so far. Oh, sugar. Nearly got clocked by that. Got too close, got too close. So he's throwing different attacks at us now.
Yes!
I can't believe I've just done that twice. Why did I do that? Jumped right into the attack. Right, let's go get some health before we do anything else. I've got a feeling I'm not going to be able to do this last round. I always end up dying on this one. Oh no, I'm trapped. Oh no. Oh! I died. No, sugar. That's embarrassing. Luckily, I think it doesn't ask you to start again. We can just pick up from where we left off. Here we go. Easy. Cool. So we've got a looping teleporter noise, and I think with that, that is the majority of the game. Cool. So there we go. So the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything with FMOD is make sure I disable Unity's audio engine so that that doesn't play any sounds. To do that, I'm going to go Edit, Project Settings, Audio, and under the Inspector tab, I'm going to click Disable Unity Audio. If I wanted to, I probably could go through all the scripts and rip out any references to audio, but that one take ages, and it too could ruin some of the prefabs and how the game works if it's, you know, calling for audio and it's not there. So it's just easier to disable Unity audio like this. Obviously, for if this was a proper project we were working on, this would be really bad because we'll essentially be running 2 audio engines, but so that's going to affect the performance. But for this, it won't matter too much. So the next thing I'm going to do is quickly show you my FMOD settings tab. Like I said, I've already got a project set up, which I'm going to show you in a second. If you don't know how to integrate FMOD with Unity, I'll have a link in a card in the top right corner of this video. Cool, so let me quickly jump into FMOD and show you what I've got working here. As you can see, I've already got something set up, but I'll explain that in a second. First, if I open the audio bin, I've got all the sounds that come with the game kit already implemented into, or imported rather, into FMOD. If I quickly trial some, the 2 things I'm going to be focusing on implementing in this video is the character melee swing sounds and the taking damage sounds, because both of those are quite consistent throughout the game, so they'll be nice and easy to implement. It'll only take, you know, a few lines of code, if that. So if I go Ellen, which is the name of the character, let's go attacks, melee, and let's trial some of these attacks. In fact, I'm going to start with these 3 first. So it's 1, 2, 3. And we've also got this longer one, which I'm not going to be implementing just yet because I couldn't find where it goes, if that makes sense. There's an animation for these 3 that consists of just one swing of that kind of staff she has. But this one where there's 3 sounds, I'm not sure where that goes. But if I do find it, I'll obviously address that in another video. So then we're going to add them. We're also going to go, not locomotion. It would be under speech, I think. No. Emotes. Here we go, emotes. Okay, cool. So these are obviously character sounds. So we're going to play this one, this one, this one, and this one. whenever the player takes damage. As they sound like, well, the player taking damage. Whereas these two, they sound more like the player's kind of, doing something. So I won't be implementing them either. Okay, so let me show you what I've got in the sound effects folder over here. So if I quickly open that, you'll see I've got another folder called Ellen, which is the player character. Well, that's the name of the character anyway. And I've got 2 events within that folder. I've got the Ellen Hurt event and the Ellen Melee event. So let me quickly show you what I did. The Ellen Hurt event I've just quickly deleted, so I can quickly run through you what I did. So it's worth noting that for these 2 events, we want to make sure they are 2D events and not 3D events. Because these sounds are going to be constantly attached to the player character or coming from the player character, and the camera is going to be constantly following that character, the distance between the sound and the camera, or the listener rather, won't change. So a 2D event works perfectly. If, for example, we were doing enemy sounds where the enemy is going to be moving around independently from the character, the distance is going to change, and therefore we'd expect things like the volume to drop when the enemy moves further away. If it gets closer, we might want more frequencies, more low end. So things like that are unnecessary to calculate within Unity, so we're just going to go 2D event. Cool, so if I quickly open this event, what you can see, first of all, is that I've deleted everything. So I can quickly run through you what I did. If I hit Control... No, sorry, first of all, let's go multi-instrument. Let's make that a bit bigger. So the multi-instrument allows us to play sounds randomly or in sequence. Obviously, we're going to want to trigger a few sounds randomly to give it a bit of variety, so we're not hearing the same hurt sound over and over. Let's quickly go and find those sounds. Where are they? Locomotion. Oh. And these are the sounds here in the audio bin that we want to use. So I'm going to click these 4 here. I'm going to drag them into drop sounds here. And there we go, they're in our multi-instrument. Let's close that. Let's quickly level it out so we make sure the multi-instrument ends when the sounds do. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want some of these sounds to play more frequently than others. More specifically, in fact, let's organize them a bit better. I want these small sounds, so ones like this, to play more than the bigger sounds, like these. So what we could do to create that behavior is right-click one of them, go set play percentage, and you'll notice a load of percentages have appeared next to them. And these are basically determine the likelihood of one of these being triggered whenever this event is. So what we could do, if I click on, say, one of the small ones, I can change the percentage of it to 30, and you'll notice it balances out all the other percentages as well, so it all equals up to 100. I'm going to do it for the other one, set play percentage, change it to 30. There we go. So the chance of a small sound being played when this event is triggered is 30, and a medium one is 20. Next thing I'm going to do is do some random modulation by right-clicking the pitch wheel here, modulation random, just so they don't sound too samey. Let's go by not too much, obviously. If we did too much, it would sound like this. And a bit chipmunky, a bit unrealistic in time. So we'll go about 2.5, I think is a fairly sensible amount. And now let's try that out. There we go, that's a bit better. Notice how we have more small sounds triggering the medium. Let's also go volume and go add automation random. And I think this time we'll do about, we'll do 4. And let's see how that sounds. Again, just adds a bit of variation so it doesn't sound too repetitive. And there we go, that's pretty much what I've done for both events. If I go on to Ellen Melee and open that up a bit, you'll see I've done the same, except the percentages are the same. I didn't feel there was any reason to prioritize some of these sound clips over another. And if I open this tab here, you'll see I've modulated the volume and the pitch about the same. Cool, so let's quickly go File, Save, and File, Build. And we're good to go for now on the FMOD side of things. Let's jump into Unity, and the first thing I'm going to want to do is open up a scene where we've got both the player taking damage and the player with the staff, so they can do some melee attacks. So if I go to my project tab here, let's go Assets, let's go Scenes. Oh, wait, hold on. No, we don't want that. Let's see. Or do we want that? No, we don't want that. We want 2D game kit. We want scenes. We want zone 3. And if we open that, there we go. So in this level, we can both take damage and we can, well, deal damage, I suppose, with the melee attack. Just going to quickly check that we have disabled the Unity audio engine so we don't hear any sounds unless they're from FMOD. Yep, there we go. Nothing's coming out. Cool, so we're good to go. So the first thing I want to do is basically I want to determine when the game is detecting that the player is taking damage. And when that happens, I want to attach a one-shot line of code within the function or whatever it is that's doing that to say that, well, we want that event within FMOD to trigger. So if I go to player assets Ellen in my hierarchy, and I know for a fact, because I've already dug through all this earlier, that to find that behavior, I'm going to want to open the player character script. So right click and click edit script. I should point out that the reason why I know to open up the player character script quickly is because if we open this tab here, audio settings, we can see we've got a reference to a game object and it says hurt audio player. If I click this here, this tells us what game object it's referencing, the voice source game object under the character, under sound sources, and there we go, voice source. If I click on this, there's also an audio source there. So that's obviously telling me that they were using the voice source game object and the audio source underneath it to play the pain sounds for the character. And they were using this script here to kind of organize all that, basically. And yeah, send the audio through. So that's how I know. Right, so now we're in the script. You can see it is quite a big script that I don't really fancy digging through. So what I'm going to do is quickly hit Control F, and I'm going to basically try and search for anything audio related. If I go audio, you'll see it highlights a load of stuff for me. So I can quickly skim. Oh, I'm right at the bottom. Hold on, let's skip back to the top. If I skim through, I can find a load of audio references. So for example, here, we've got some public variables, I believe these are, or these references, I can't quite tell. But either way, as we can see, hurt audio player. This tells us that, yeah, we know that this script is being used to trigger the sound of the player taking damage in some way. So what we can do is double click that to highlight it, and we can quickly get rid of that so we're not searching for audio. And now I can quickly skim through the whole script and try and find that command, essentially. Cool, and here we are. So on line 699, I found a reference to the hurt audio player, where it says it's commanding it to play a random sound. And it's in a function called onHurt. So this is perfect. This is obviously the function that calculates what happens when the player takes damage. So what I'm going to do is quickly get rid of this line here, so it's not doing anything. And I'm going to replace it with this line. So this is just a simple one-shot command that you can use when you've implemented FMOD. The way it works, you put fmodunity.runtimemanager.play one shot. Then you need to tell it what event you're going to play and where it's going to be played from. So I've created a path here to my event. If I quickly go back to FMOD, you'll see that the path is sound effects, Ellen, and then Ellen hurt. So we basically, we basically need to copy that exactly. We've done this before. You write event, well, in quotation marks, you write event, :/, and then you write the path, so it knows where to find it within FMOD. Then we need to tell it where the sound is going to be played from. So we write get component transform .position. Now, because this script is attached to the player character, it's basically saying we want this to be played at whatever location the player is on, or whatever transform within, if I zoom out, whatever position within the game world, which will be calculated in the transform, the player is in, that's where we want the sound to be played at. Okay, cool. So that's how a one-shot works, in case you didn't know. So now that we've found the place where Unity is calculating the results of what happens when the player takes damage, and we've added a one-shot to trigger our event within FMOD, we can quickly hit Control S to save it, go back into Unity, and do something that I quickly forgot to do, which was add the FMOD Studio listener somewhere in our game, to give us a point of reference for when we're listening to audio, so that when we do use 3D events later on, like I said, it can calculate things like distance between the listener and the sound source for us to use like volume automation. So we can, you know, when something's further away, we can make it sound quiet, or when it's closer, we can make it sound more heavy and stuff like that. So I'm going to go Ellen, and luckily for us, there is a handy game object called Audio Listener, which is where the Unity Audio Listener was. So I'm going to hit Add Component, go to FMOD Studio Listener, and it's as easy as that. Cool, so now we know that the Studio Listener is attached to our player character. Essentially, we're hearing all the audio in the world from the ears of this character here. Nice one, so I think the next thing to do is quickly test that that all works. So what I'm going to do is hit play, find a place to hurt myself, and see if we hear some, well, painful sound effects, I suppose. Hey, there we go, it worked. Nice one. Let's do it one more time to see if it sounds any different. See if all that randomization worked. Quickly come down here. There we go, cool, nice. Next thing I want to do is add the melee sounds. And the way I'm going to do that is actually attach it to the animation, because like I said earlier, that stays nice and consistent. And it also saves us digging through all the files to find out where the attack animation is triggered, or not the animation, where the attack is triggered within the code. What we can do is dig through the files and find that animation and simply attach an event to the animation. So let's go to 2D Game Kit. Let's go Art, Animations, Animation Clips, Ellen, the character, and I believe it is here. Here we are, Ellen Melee. So if we want to trial the animation, what we need to do is drag the model that it will be animating. So let's see if I can remember where the model is. I believe if I go back to 2D Game Kit, go prefabs. Oh, perfect, it's there. Now I've lost, doing a bit of juggling here. So I've got to go back to animations, Ellen, Melee, there we go. Now let's see if I can open up the prefabs folder without that disappearing. Prefabs, there we go. So grab the Ellen model, drag it in, and we're good to go. So now if I open that up, zoom in a bit. Can I zoom in a bit? No, I can't zoom in a bit. Okay, never mind. So let's hit play, and we can see the animation there. So that's what we're going to attach it to. So the first thing we need to do is go back to our animation, which is in the animation, no, in the animation clips folder. Ellen folder? There we go, cool. Let's go back to our animation, make sure it's selected, and we want to open up the animation tab, like we do here. So what we need to do is add an event to somewhere on the timeline of the animation. The way we do that is by selecting a position on the timeline. Let's say I wanted to put it in, I think that's a frame or a second in. I think it's a frame. Yeah, it's a frame. Okay, cool. So let's say I decided to put my event or attach it to the first frame of the animation. I'd select it on the timeline. I'd click this little symbol here, which is very small, the little sort of long vertical, I don't know what that is, an arrow pointing down with a plus sign. Well, either way, it's the way we add events. So click on that, and it'll create a little event there, which you can see is highlighted blue. It's very small, so apologies if you can't see that. But we also get the inspector tab opens and we get all this information here. And this is what we're going to be using to attach our FMOD event to. As you can hopefully kind of see there at the beginning of the animation, I've already added an event. And this is what we're essentially going to be using to trigger our FMOD event. But before we touch that, first I need to create a script that has a one-shot in it, essentially. So if I go to Ellen, the reason why I've gone to Ellen is because Ellen has the animator component attached to. This component is basically going to be what that animation goes through. So we need to make sure that this script is either, well, a script we're already using that's attached to the same game object as the animator, or we can create our own and do things from there, which is what I'm going to do, just so, you know, there's not loads of code going on in front of our face that we don't need to worry about. So as you can see, I've already created a script called FMOD player. I'm going to click on that and open it up quickly. So this is what my player looks like. It's very simple. And actually, if you've watched the video on the FMOD TV channel where they attach sound to animation, I've essentially done the exact same thing. I've created a function, I've called it play sound, and I'm passing a string variable through it called path. And I'm using this string variable to basically represent my event within FMOD. This one here, the Ellen Melee, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Oh, whoops. So just like before, this is my one shot here. Same as last time. The difference is instead of quoting the event directly, like I said, I'm using this string variable to pass it through. Now let's explain how I did that. So if I go back to Unity and go back to that animation, quickly open up in the animation tab and click on the event I made earlier, play sound. As you can see, what I've done in the function space is I've quoted that, I've quoted the function play sound. So it will, whenever this event is triggered, it's going to play that specific function. What it's also going to do is use this string here, which you'll notice is the path to my FMOD event. Sound effects Ellen Melee. Again, it's exactly the same as it is here. Sound effects Ellen Melee. It's going to, oh god, I'll get them jumbled up here. It's going to take this path and it's going to pass it through the string variable within this function. So essentially what's happening is this path is getting carried through to this function. In fact, if I get rid of the word path, there we go. So we can pretend that it's appearing, well, there we go. So now we can sort of pretend that the event path is appearing here, and by extension, it is appearing here. So it basically works the same way as the last one shot. So let's quickly get rid of all that because otherwise it won't work. There we go. Save the function and we are good to go. So let's see if it works within the game. First thing I need to do is actually the weapon. Otherwise, we won't be able to trigger the sound of the attack. So give me 1 second. I'll quickly go find where the weapon is. Oh, shit. Didn't mean to do that. Here we are. So this is the location of the weapon. So if I quickly go over it and press K to swing. There we go. We'll hear the sound event play. And as we can hear, it sounds different every time. Great. And that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. Like I said, I want to kind of go into some more sounds first of all with well, I can't remember if I said it actually, but after this video I want to do some more sounds with the character and hopefully do some more complex sounds as well, like footsteps for example, kind of material, jumping and blah blah blah, loads more stuff. We'll do the character first and I think we'll build sounds around her. Again, thank you very much to everyone who's been doing the survey. That will be in a link in the description. That's been so helpful. And if you want to if you guys want to suggest what you want to see from this channel, feel free to fill that out. That's, you know, it's not very long, it's only a minute, but it really helps me get a good idea of where I should kind of, or the direction I should take this channel. And also keep an eye out on my Twitter or my YouTube channel for that big event. Again, I've said event too many times in this video. That's kind of event I'm kind of building up towards, where I try and make a big package that kind of contains everything you need to know about not only integrating and implementing sounds into FMOD and Unity, learning a bit of C# code to work with the two, and make it sounds really creative and dynamic, which hopefully we'll do a bit of in this series. So, I think that's everything. Let me know if you want to see more of this. I've been Henry Scott, and thank you very much for watching.